guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nelle and I want to start a series, okay? So boom. What I want to do is a series of the sun through the signs. So basically I'll be describing to you from Aries all the way down to Pisces what the having the sun in each sign would mean for that particular aspect, for a person with that particular aspect. So let's get started. Okay, so first things first, let's start with Aries. Before I describe to you a little bit more about the sun sign Aries, I want to talk about what the sun actually means in the zodiac. So wherever the sun falls for you in your chart, okay, and a chart is basically a map of the sky at the moment that you were born. So that's why when you get an astrological reading, you need your date of birth, your time of birth, and the location, because we need to know from which perspective on Earth to kind of derive that map. So, and the sun is where the most light is being shown on your chart, and that's why when you go into like the little ads in the back of magazines and on websites and stuff, people ask you what is your sign. Most likely they're asking you what is your sun sign, because that's the part that within social interactions most people show up as that. Now you do have signs for every other placement that you have. That means where the moon, every other planet, even nodes around some other planets, not asteroids, but you know, different things in the ethers and in the solar system where those things are placed have a say in your personality as well. But the reason why we focus so much on the sun is because it is the most prominent thing in the zodiac, sort of. So it shows us how we show up in our everyday existence. And when a person first meets you, they might mistake your ascendant sign, which is where the horizon began upon your time of birth. That's how you come off to people in first impressions. So sometimes people might mistake you and say, huh, I thought you were this, you know, upon meeting you a couple times. But once they get to spend some time with you, think of people like your friends, your co-workers, lovers, people you go to school with, that type of thing. They get to see how you actually interact within the world around you. So a lot of times that's when you'll see somebody's sun sign kind of show up, how they choose to take measures in real life. And so when you want to talk about Aries, the way that I think about each zodiac sign is within its placement in the 360. Okay, so each zodiac sign in the sky takes up 30 degrees, a 30-degree slice of the 360 degrees that is up there. Okay, so Aries being the first 30 degrees, I always think of it as kind of like when you're first born, you know, when you're a baby and you're just kind of being exposed to the world around you and you don't know anybody, you don't know anything, how anything works. The first thing that you need to discover is yourself. So Aries and the first house respectively, because that's Aries coordinates with the first house, that's where you find a person's self-identity. That's where you find a person's self-confidence, especially when sun is there, because sun, which is ruled by Leo, is where a lot of people where the Leo is kind of like, and the sun is kind of like the representation of your confidence. So with it being in the first house, which would be the Aries house, or in Aries, that's kind of those two derivatives kind of like meshing together to make a person who is very sure about themselves, or at least that's how they show up in the world, like they are very sure about themselves. They spend a lot of time thinking about who they are and what, you know, they identify with what it is that they want at any given time. They may identify with what it is that they need, but where I find fire signs in the zodiac, I find that they're a lot more in touch with what it is that they want. And Aries is more of an initiator type of energy, so they're the person that's not afraid to put into action what it is they, or to start action towards getting them what it is that they want, or what it is that they need to survive. You know, if you think about the planet that's associated with Aries, which is Mars, Mars is kind of like the soldier within all of us, and we all have a Mars. But we're just talking about the archetype of the sign Aries. So Mars is kind of like where you find your sexual aggressiveness, where you find your outward sexual energy. where you want to go for things, where you want to make things happen, where you're very bold about what it is that you want. You look at the sign Aries, it's like a circle with an arrow pointing outward. Initiation. That's the one thing that I always think whenever I see anything in Aries. Whatever that planet is, whatever the breakdown of the meaning of that planet, that person is not afraid to put what they want into action, to start the process towards achieving whatever it is that they're going for. Now, Sun in Aries, I know a lot of Sun in Aries people, so I'm just going to kind of like talk from my experience. This is not in any way, shape, or form saying that every single Sun in Aries person will possess all of these traits, because in reality, you have to look at the totality of someone's birth chart. Again, that map of the sky when you're born, in order to see how every planet plays a part. But just looking at this particular aspect, Sun in Aries people tend to be ambitious. They tend to be very driven towards something. And it could be different for everybody depending on their other planets, what matters to them, what they value, those types of things, and where their ideals lie. But Aries people have a certain sort of spark about them. They are typically very lively, very spunky, and that's when you get them comfortable. Now, this is the Sun, so you have to get past that rising sign facade of whatever that might be. But let me see. Let me look at some of my notes. Sun here likes to be first, okay? So when you would identify the Sun, which is our ego, and how we see ourselves in the world, with that Aries energy, Aries likes to be first. So they feel like they should do whatever they need to do to get to the front of the line. Aries likes to kind of go for the gusto. You know, especially with male Aries energy, they tend to be a little bit more outwardly aggressive than the female. So when you look at how an Aries Sun would date, would be like in the dating pool, they're not afraid to just go for it. Their personalities, whatever their personality is, they're not afraid to show up as that. And they're kind of like the fire that burns hot and quick. So when it comes to male and female Aries energy, they're kind of like driven by the chase. So if, say for instance, you have an Aries that's interested in dating you and they're trying to woo you, because Aries can also be very charming. I've noticed with the male Aries too, they can kind of fulfill that whole knight in shining armor archetype, at least until they get what they want. They kind of try to woo you and do, they watch you and try to notice little things that they think might impress you and do those things, and they like to be funny. Depending on where their Mercury is and like some of their other placements, they may try to show up as a little bit witty, try to be first, try to get the joke out. They like to make people feel good. They like to make people laugh. Like I said, that fire that burns hot and fast. But until an Aries is really evolved and ready for like a long-term type of thing, I noticed that a lot of Aries tend to have their quote-unquote whole phase. They really do believe in that, because they want to. There's something about the internal workings of an Aries Sun. They have an insatiable need for excitement. They like the thrill. They like that burn fast, burn hot, live fast, die young, kind of dynamic within things. I used to have an Aries that like chased me all through elementary school, all the way up into like college, and then as soon as I decided to be with him, he just was like not interested anymore. Like, it drove me freaking nuts, because when I tell you, for years and years and years, this person would vie for my attention, and I would kind of like give them little bits and pieces, give them a little here, but I played that hard to get role. Oh, it drove that guy wild. Like, it was really something that kind of, it fed him to a certain extent, to know that there was something that he couldn't have. And so what he would focus on would be, how can I achieve it? That's that Mars energy. What steps do I need to take? What do I need to do? What hoops do I need to jump through? What type of backbends do I need to do to get this girl to notice me? Whereas some other signs might like shy away from that. Oh, Aries is diving headfirst into it. But the downside is that they do have short attention spans. When when you give them what they want and the ego is finally satisfied, it kind of has no drive anymore. It's like you took the fuel, you burnt up all the fuel, and now they're on to the next thrill. Sorry, Aries, but it's the truth. Especially Aries Sun. Because like I said, Sun is where you find that ego. It's where you shine the light in that person's chart. And sometimes it can be where a person, wherever the Sun is, I notice that people tend to be, what do I want to say? A little bit blinded by it. So they might not even realize that they're not paying attention to the consequences of their actions. Because they like to live free, die young. Is that what it is? Live fast, die young. They don't always it's not even always a thing in their mind that what they're doing could result in an unfavorable consequence. But they just kind of, they, like I said, they just want the thrill. And a lot of times they honestly just do not care. Like, it's not something that they factor in as much as another sign might. Let me see. Yeah, like I said, in a childlike manner, and that goes back to that example that I was giving you. You ever had a kid that just really, like, every time you took them to the store, they wanted a sucker, they beg you for it, they talk about it in their sleep, they go to school and tell their friends about this sucker or whatever, and you give it to them and they take 2 licks and then they throw it? Like, they don't even care, and then you come in the room and you find it, like, stuck to a sock or some shit like that. Like, that is the essence of Aries sun. They're just all about that insatiable need. Like, whatever it is that they kind of fix their eyes on, they want to go for it. That's the cardinal aspect of this sign. They want to go for it. They're initiators, but they're not always there to stick around and see the thing through to its completion. So I kind of divided it into my take on an Aries man versus Aries woman. So for the men, I noticed that with every zodiac sign, men tend to wear the traits of that on the outward, on the outskirts. It's a little bit more exerted. Okay, so for the Aries men, they're not like always mean or anything like that. Actually, most of the Aries men that I know are pretty jovial. They don't like to sit around and mull through the gook that is like real true conflict, if you know what I'm saying, like emotional conflict. They don't really like to get into all that type of mess, but they are hot and quick, so they can be aggressive when they talk to you. You would be sitting there at the bar talking to some guy, and then Aries will just be like, come in and cut him off and be like, so hey, you know, like they just don't really care. They don't think about the consequences. They don't care. They're aggressive in that way. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're mean or they're like physically, they can be physically aggressive, but you know, take all this with kind of like a grain of salt. And even with like in a love partnership, they can be very, very passionate. They want to kind of sweep you up into the moment. Aries is all about the moment, the right now. They can be a little bit shallow too because of that. Like I said, they don't have time to really stick around and mull out the details with you. It's not about the details right now, baby. It's about what we doing. You know what I'm saying? Right here, right now. What can we both gain from this? Or not even what can we both? Because honestly, Aries probably not even thinking about you. But, you know, if you're down and they're down, they're willing to make something happen. You know, that kind of energy, like the right here, right now. So what we gonna make out of this? And they're like crazy charming when they want something. They know how to charm the shit out of any girl that they so please. Now, are they going to be able to satisfy that girl in the long term? If they put their minds to it, maybe. Depending on where their other aspects are, maybe. But for the most part, it's just about that moment. You know, when they see you, or you know what I'm saying? Like, you've been flirting with them, and when they see you, you just make them feel some type of way. So they come after, they want that feeling. Now the women, wherever you find like a female in the zodiac, the traits of her placements are a little bit more internalized. And so that aggression that the male Aries had, female Aries can be heavy-handed as fuck, I'm gonna be honest, and they can be aggressive too, but they exhibit it on a regular basis in a little bit more of a way of being like headstrong. They take that aggression and make it inward. So with the female Aries, you might find them a lot of times expressing how they're like, somebody wants them to do something one way, but they're like, fuck that, I'm gonna do this my way. You know, it's like that initiative action where they don't need somebody else ruling out their checks and balances. They don't need somebody else's opinion on what it is that they feel like they want to do or how they feel like they want to do it. They're just gonna get it done. That's that warrior aspect. They're going to get it done. You're going to go to war. They're going to achieve this task in the way that they see best fit. And they tend to be really good leaders because of that. They're not the type of people that really need the approval of others to move forward with anything, to be honest. Now, if you find an Aries woman in a long-term partnership, she might try to dull that down a little bit in order to learn compromise. And that's one thing for Aries in this lifetime. Aries sun, y'all do have to learn compromise, because I mean, unless you're cool with being alone. Because the thing about Aries is they, like I said, that whole not taking in the consequences thing, a lot of times they just don't think outside of themselves. And it's not even trying to say like they're trying to play the other person involved or like they're being manipulative in any way, even though other aspects might point to that. But just this aspect alone, Aries sun is just really more so worried about what they want and how to make themselves happy, and fulfilling those, you know, quick needs that they have. And yeah, that comes to like thinking quick on their feet, having a good instinct about where to go, you know what I'm saying, what to do in life, having an idea and just putting it to action really quick. They don't have to like sit back and think about it and procrastinate. They're not really big on procrastination, even though, like I said, once they start something, they don't always see it through, but they will start. They will do it. They will put it. They will start, you know. They're very fiery. The women, oh, they have this internal way of channeling their energy to where another person might find it intimidating. My sister is actually an Aries, and I remember she was going to school. This is a little while ago. She was going to school, and she would always come home with a story about like how the girls, like, she wouldn't even speak to anybody. She wouldn't even have to say nothing to nobody, and the girls were just like intimidated by her presence because of the energy that she possessed within herself. That's all it took. It was for her to be sure about herself. That's that Sun and Aries energy. She knew who she was. She knew why she was there, you know. But they're like, why don't you want to be friendly with us? She's there to accomplish what she's there to accomplish. Doesn't have anything to do with being friendly. It's about her getting the job done. And a lot of times because of that, or I don't know, it kind of comes off in a way of like, when somebody will try to like get into Sun and Aries space, if they don't want you there, they will say things for shock value to kind of try to push you away from them. That's another thing, like that ram. That ram energy, like, girl, didn't nobody ask you to come stay next to me, girl. I'm gonna say this to you and make you mad right now because I know it'll get me what I want in the moment. You'll get away from me, and then you'll come to school and the girl will be mad at you, and you'll be like, I don't know why she mad at me, girl, because you just said something about her she didn't like the other day. You forgot. And Aries really will forget, like, oh, you took that serious? I didn't even really mean that. I was just trying to get you away from me in that moment right then and there. Like, they're so funny. And in that way, the women can be shallow. They're not always here for the emotional hodgepodge either, even though things, you know, everybody to a certain extent has emotions and feelings about things, but just things that would matter to some of the more passive signs or some of the, you know, less headstrong signs, they don't really fucking matter to an Aries sun. So yeah, the sun represents the vitality, one's will. So this is like how they act out what it is that they truly want and they truly need in this lifetime. And for each sign, I kind of made a sentence that describes the planet, the house, and the element that they represent. So for Aries, it's they initiate themselves into action. Okay, that's the Aries. So whenever you think about Aries, just think, okay, they initiate themselves into action, because the initiating part is the Mars energy. Like I said, they like to start, they like to go after things, they like to put things in motion, they like to act on their instincts, they like to be spontaneous. Themselves is the part where it's like associated with the first house. First house is about self-identity, what is it? Self-identity, self-esteem, how you see yourself, the oneness within who you are, how you put yourself out there to be seen by others. And then the action part is the fire sign aspect of it. All the fire signs are just very, very sparky. You know what I'm saying? They're about putting their will over themselves in order to do something. If you want to think about each fire sign as like a creative sort of energy, you know, we're all down here on this earth as creative entities. We get to create our own little realities, but the fire signs really believe in putting that creative will into action in order to manifest things. So wherever you have a fire sign, if you're trying to get something done, get you a fire sign, baby. Now, an earth sign will help you plan something. An air sign might help you think about it. The water sign would help you feel, you know, get to the bottom of your feelings and understand the undercurrents of it and the deepness of it, the significance of it. But those fire signs, they're not trying to get into any of that bullshit. They just trying to get it started. So I hope that this little dissertation helps, or, you know, helps you guys wrap your minds around the sun sign Aries. If you guys have any comments, please leave them for me below. Let me know if you liked the video, if you didn't like the video, if I left something out. I'm definitely trying to like open up dialogue with you guys. If you notice, I comment back on all of the comments that you guys leave. I love talking to you all. Like I said, like the video, subscribe to my channel because I will be making this way more of a regular thing. And if you do want a personal reading, I offer those. You can just email me at nelle4highvibe@gmail.com. I'm going to leave that in the description box below so you guys know the spelling and everything. And I love y'all so much. Thanks for hanging out with me on tonight. And until next time, peace and blessings.